components of the ecosystem. By definition, an ecosystem should have two basic components. The non-living components, which are called abiotic components, and the living components, which are known as biotic components, which are interacting with each other. The abiotic components, the non-living components, can be broadly classified into three categories. Namely, physical factors, which include factors like light, temperature, soil, and water. Such factors are called physical factors. Then we have chemical factors. The various chemical substances used and manufactured by living organisms. For example, the inorganic nutrients. Take for example carbon dioxide, required by all plants for manufacturing food. The organic substances put together represent the chemical factors. This apart, we have two important climatic factors. That influence the day-to-day activities of living organisms: the rainfall and the humidity. So these are the major abiotic components in the ecosystem. The biotic components are represented by the variety of living organisms. Occupying the ecosystem. Each of these living organisms in the ecosystem have a specific role, which is described as the niche to be performed in the ecosystem. Based on the role played by the living organisms, the biotic components, the living organisms in the ecosystem, are broadly classified into three categories. Namely, producers. Producers in the ecosystem are those living organisms that are capable of manufacturing food using the various inorganic nutrients, water, under a specific regime of light, temperature, etc. by photosynthesis. So these organisms not only manufacture the food that is required by themselves, but also manufacture the food for the entire ecosystem. Therefore, they are described as producers. All the green plants, the herbs, shrubs and trees, all the green plants in any ecosystem can be classified as producers. Algae in the aquatic ecosystems can also be described as producers. Apart from green plants and algae, no other organism in the ecosystem can be classified as producers. We then have a category of living organisms called consumers. Consumers are organisms that obtain food, which obtain food energy either directly or indirectly from producers. So by feeding on the producers or by feeding on other organisms which have fed on producers, these living organisms obtain their food energy. Therefore, they are called consumers. In the ecosystem, the consumers are represented by animals. The third category of organisms, based on the role played by them, are the decomposers. Decomposers are organisms which break down the dead bodies of plants and animals, and convert them into inorganic substances. These are represented by bacteria and fungi. Which means three categories of living organisms can be recognized in any ecosystem: producers, consumers, and decomposers. The activity of producers, by which they manufacture food for the entire ecosystem, it is called productivity of the ecosystem, and the role played by green plants and algae. Role played by green parts and algae. This is called primary production. Primary production. Whereas the role played by consumers in the ecosystem, it is called secondary production. Secondary production. And the role played by bacteria and fungi. The role played by bacteria and fungi, this is decomposition, or it is also known as material recycling. So primary production, secondary production, and material recycling. These are the significant activities carried out by the living components in the ecosystem.